Hey, what's going on? It's time to check out Psalm 42. Now, Psalm 42 is the first psalm of the second book of Psalms. Now, we're going to read this, and then on Monday we're going to have Psalm 43. But what we're going to see is they go together. Okay, you're going to see a refrain here in Psalm 42. It's in verse 5, and then also in verse 11. It says, why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation. We're going to see that refrain again in verse 11, and then we're also going to see that refrain at the end of Psalm 43, which is only 5 verses long. Okay, so really, these two psalms go together, but we're going to go ahead and read them individually today, and then one at the beginning of next week. Okay. Now, the superscript of this is to the choir master, a maskil of the sons of Korah. So this isn't a psalm that was written by David. This was a psalm that was written by one of the sons of Korah. And so we don't really know who it was, okay, but we do have a little bit of background. This psalm was written while whoever is writing it is in exile. They are away from the temple, somewhere in the north, beyond the Jordan River, but they're away from the temple. And because really the sons of Korah were worship leaders, it was their job to lead the people of Israel into worship of God. This psalmist is feeling the weight of that, of not being able to complete what they are called to do. And really what we're going to see here in this psalm is this psalmist dealing with and have a dialogue back and forth with himself and with God about depression and how this depression really weighs on him. And so let's go ahead and dive in, and we'll look at Psalm 42 today, and we'll look at Psalm 43 on Monday. So this is what it says. As a deer pants for flowing streams, so pants my soul for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? My tears have been my food day and night, while they say to me all the day long, where is your God? These things I remember as I pour out my soul, how I would go with the throng and lead them in procession to the house of God with glad shouts and songs of praise, a multitude keeping festival. Why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. My soul is cast down within me, therefore I remember you. From the land of Jordan and of Hermon, from Mount Mizar, deep calls to deep at the roar of your waterfalls. All your breakers and your waves have gone over me. By day the Lord commands his steadfast love, and at night his song is within me, a prayer to the God of my life. I say to God, my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why do I go mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? As with a deadly wound in my bones, my adversaries taunt me, while they say to me all the day long, where is your God? Why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. And so obviously we see here a psalmist who is dealing with a loss. For this particular psalmist, it's a loss of being able to do what he's been called to do, which is lead the people of Israel in worship. And so what we see here in the first kind of section, and then you've got the refrain in the second section, and the refrain is the psalmist kind of presents their depression as with imagery. Right? And then it tells us how he deals with it. How does he deal with these emotions? How does he deal with this suffering? Okay, so now the first section there, verses 1 through 5, or 1 through 4, and then we get to the refrain in verse 5, we see that the psalmist is talking about how dry they feel, how dry they are, how spiritually dry they are, right? As a deer pants for flowing streams, so pants my soul for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God, right? He's dry. He has a spiritual dryness in his life and everything that's going on. He thirsts for God. He even says in verse 3, my tears have been my food day and night, but my tears aren't enough for me to live off of. They're not enough for me to drink. These things I remember as I pour out my soul, how I would go with the throng and lead them in procession to the house of God with glad shouts and songs of praise, a multitude keeping festival. So what the psalmist here says here is that when he feels dry, whenever he feels that spiritual dryness, what he does is he lets himself go, right? He remembers the things that he had with God. He remembers who God is and what God has done, right? That's what verse 4 and 5 is about. These things I remember, right? As I pour out my soul, how I would go with the throng and lead them in procession to the house of God with glad shouts and songs and praise, a multitude keeping festival. I feel dry. But in that dryness, I remember who God is. I remember what it felt like to walk with him and to walk with his saints and walk with his people. And then verse 5, the refrain, why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. So we see the first part here. The psalmist presents himself as dry spiritually because he feels like he's been removed from the people of God. Now, the second part of this psalm, we're going to see actually kind of the opposite, kind of the reverse, right? And I think there's times in our life where we feel spiritually dry, right? Like we can't get an answer from God, or it seems like God isn't answering us at all, or it's just silence, right? And we feel dry, like he's just not there. But then there's other times in our life where it feels like just one thing after another. God is rolling on and rolling on and rolling on. And that's not really comfortable for us as well, right? And that's what the psalmist is feeling here in the second part of this verse. He feels like he's drowning in what's happening. So before he was dry, now he feels like he's drowning. And he says, my soul is cast down within me. Therefore I remember you. Right? He says, I remember who you are, God. And then we get a beautiful verse in verse 7, a verse that's quoted by Jonah in chapter 2 of Jonah. And this is what it says, deep calls to deep. At the roar of your waterfalls, all your breakers and your waves have gone over me. By day the Lord commands his steadfast love, and at night his song is with me, a prayer to the God of my life. And so here we see that the psalmist feels like he's drowning in just everything that's going on in life. And so what do? We feel like we're drowning. We do like the psalm does. We ask ourselves questions to make ourselves think and approach God, right? I say to God, my rock, why have you forgotten me, right? It's a dialogue now. Why do I go mourning because of the oppression of my enemy? As with deadly wound in my bones, my adversaries taunt me while they say to me all the day long, where is your God? And what's the answer? We get the answer again in the refrain. Why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise my salvation and my God. And so that's how this psalm of 42 and 43 that go together, that's how it starts. And we're going to see the third, kind of the third section and the third refrain on Monday with Psalm 43. But I understand and I get that there are times in life where we feel dry, like God is nowhere to be found, like where are you, God? What are you doing? And then there's other times where we feel almost the exact opposite. We feel completely overwhelmed by what we're hearing and what we're seeing and what we feel like God is doing in the circumstances of our life. We have dry periods and we have periods of drowning in our life. And the psalmist is saying the answer to both of those seasons is the same. The answer is the same in both of those seasons, right? You just get there in different ways. When you feel dry, you let yourself go and you pour yourself out into God. And when you feel like you're drowning, will you take a step back and you say, hold on a minute, what's going on? What's happening? And we can end both of those situations in life with the refrain, why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you in turmoil within me? And this is the key, hope in God. For I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. No matter what's going on, you still have your salvation, and you still have your God who is watching out for you and is there for you. And so maybe today you need to ask yourself, why are you cast down, O my soul? And there's lots of good reasons for that to be going on. I understand that as well as anybody. There are lots of good reasons why our soul may be cast down, but we have an answer, and we have a way out. Hope in God, that we will praise him again, our salvation and our God.